Okay, good morning, everybody. It's Jeff Goldberg from the Sales Pro Network. Happy New Year to all of you. I'm broadcasting from Long Island, New York. As most of you know, I am a sales coach and trainer. I work with both individuals and organizations to help them increase their sales. And I founded the Sales Pro Network to elevate the profession of sales. It's a place where salespeople can come and share their challenges, share their success stories, get coaching from wonderful guests like today, as well as my competitors are on it. And we're all here to help you. And every Friday, as you know, we do at 10 o'clock on the East Coast time, we do a live interview with somebody who can help salespeople. And today is no exception. It's absolutely my pleasure to introduce you to a personal branding expert who I met recently. His name is Chris Vaglio. Chris, good morning.
Hey, good morning. I am really happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me on today.
It's my pleasure to have you. Chris, could you maybe just take us through a 2 or 3 minute, what brought you up to this point? How'd you become a personal branding expert?
Absolutely. No, it's a great question. Thanks for asking. My career is actually started over 20 years ago, and and it wasn't in well, I guess you could say it was in personal branding, but not directly. So I started my career as a video production agency. I co-founded a video production agency called Gray Sky Films with my business partner Mark Sorreo. We started it basically right out of college, and we grew it into a seven-figure company, and we did commercials and corporate videos and branding videos and all kinds of great stuff. We originally started out in the music and video industry, and then when the music industry sort of started, wasn't really a viable business model for us anymore, we moved more into working in the corporate and commercial world, working with a lot of marketing and advertising agencies, and directly with all different types of companies, from every shape and size to small businesses to large Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies. So over all that time, that 20 years of working in a creative space and creating videos, I definitely learned a lot about marketing, branding, working with some of the top creatives in the world, and working side by side with them to create video content, but also learning a lot about, marketing and helping people out. So over the course of the 20 years, like, it's been great. I mean, I've absolutely loved all of it, but I just felt the need that I really accomplished a lot in at Gray Sky, like not only working with hundreds of clients, but also producing original content and short films and traveling all over the world. It's once again, I really can't I really can't say how much of an amazing experience it was, but I just felt like I was ready to do something new. I wanted to take a new journey. I felt something new, like burning in my gut, like I just wanted to tackle something new. And for me, it was really starting to become this coach, this consultant. And it's something I've always done on the side, with friends, colleagues, and really helping out. My door is always open to everybody. So, but I just felt the need, like I felt like this is something I was really meant to do. And I just had a burning desire to do it. So this year, well, I should say 2020, not this year anymore, but in 2020, I made the really difficult decision to exit Gray Sky, and I sold my shares to my business partner, and everything was super mutual, really great. We're still great friends to this day. I mean, we just talked like a couple days ago, so that was a really positive transition for me, and I just launched headfirst into Rocket Growth Agency, which is a personal branding and consulting agency.
I love what you said about your door is always open. For a coach and a consultant, that's crucial that you truly have that attitude that you love to help. Because I think that you like me have probably spoken to coaches and consultants where you can just tell,
Yeah,
I'm just in it to make a living. If I can get your money, that's great, and
right.
I don't care what else happens. I know that for me, I'm committed to always under promising and over delivering, and delivering extraordinary value for every penny that somebody invests with me, because
You
I
have
take
to.
that responsibility incredibly seriously. I know that for me as a sales coach, I know that what I do affects other people's lives, that
Yeah.
their families, their companies, and I take that very responsibility. So I love hearing that. Now, in our first conversation, we
Mhm.
found a shared love of music, and I
Yep.
think that anybody who's watching right now will see the beautiful. I think that's a Les Paul in the background.
That
How
is,
has
yeah.
how has rock and roll influenced your business?
Oh man. Wow. That's a question that we could probably just riff on that one for the next like 2 hours, but we won't. So But yeah, I mean, rock and roll is just influenced me so much. I mean, and I'll just start real quick. I mean, it's what I grew up on. My parents, God bless them, they raised me on rock and roll, man, classic rock. There was always Beatles and Clapton and even, Black Sabbath in there, and Blood, Sweat and Tears and Allman Brothers in my life. And I was fortunate that my uncle, who was only 11 years older than me when I was born, was got me into Van Halen and Rush and all that stuff. So I was just always surrounded by music, and it was became such a huge part of my life growing up. And and I wanted to play music, and I did, and I learned how to play guitar, and I got involved heavily in the punk and hardcore scene here in New Jersey, which was an amazing experience, because what it taught me was there's just whole DIY work ethic of being surrounded by bands and making music and supporting each other and putting shows on at like Legion halls and firehouses and playing in people's basements and underground clubs. And it was just an amazing community where everybody was out to support each other. You made your own shirts and records and tapes, and I used to sell records at shows. So it was just this whole, like, basically a business community, but a community where everybody was supporting each other, but it was all about music. I took all that and transitioned it and brought it into my professional career. So even when I started Gray Sky, and Mark had a lot of very similar experiences, and I think that's why we became such close friends and then decided to start a business together, was we always looked at Gray Sky as, we are going to market this like we're in a band, not we're a video production agency, not that we're just we're going to market this how we're going to, like, we market ourselves as if we're in a band. And that mindset, that mentality's always stuck with me. And that's what I bring to Rocket Growth Agency, is that same mentality. Like, I think a lot of times people are so stuck, and I get it. I've been here 1,000 times, but sometimes it just takes that shift in mindset, that shift in thinking, to like unlock all the potential that you have, that you just were very, like, roadblocked in the thinking. So a lot of times I just use the analogy. I'm like, take yourself out of the seat that you're in. Like Jeff, you're not a sales consultant today. Like today, you're a member of a band, right? And you've got gigs coming up, and you've got songs to write and songs to promote, and you've got merch to sell. Like, let's put yourself in that seat, and let's talk about all the different ways that you would promote that band, that you would promote that show, that you would get your music out there, all those different tactics. Now that we've got that, now let's put yourself back into the seat you're in. Those things that you just came up with, guess what? They will carry over. Okay. They will absolutely carry over to the audience that you're trying to tap into, right? Obviously, you have to be mindful of your audience, but those tactics, that mindset, that thinking, that philosophy, that's not going to change. Those things are just the basic fundamentals. And I know I'm going to use a statement that you love to hear, and it's so true, right? It's the golden rule. People do business with people that they like and they trust, flat out. At the end of the day, no matter how many algorithms or campaigns we run and all that, if people don't like you and they don't trust you, they're not going to do business with you. They have to have that connection with you. And a human being makes the business decision at the end of the day. Right now, that's it. AI is not doing it for you. Like, someone is still pulling the trigger on that and choosing to do business with you, regardless of what you're doing. So that's how I look at it. And that to me is like the whole influence of rock and roll and music and just in general, is that rock and roll mindset, tapping into yourself, believing in yourself, and using your strengths, your authenticity, and being yourself to really, make that connection with people. Like, throw the script away, like, be yourself, make that connection. And that's where the real magic to me happens. And that's how I built a 20-year career that, is still going with that business. Gray Sky's not out of business at all. And it's still going. And I'm carrying that over now. And this is what I'm teaching people how to do.
And is that what you call the rocket mindset?
It is what I call the rocket mindset, because that's it. Like, I wake up every morning and, and this is what works for me, and it's my mantra, but it's like, I believe in it. Like, be authentic, be yourself, and always remember to rock it. And that's just rocking it. Like, rock it in your business life, rock it in your personal life, just bring that positivity, that positive mental mindset. Like, it is hard. Like, believe me, I mean, it's not easy to maintain it all the time, and negativity will creep in. We're all human, right? It's going to happen. But as fast as it creeps in, like, you really just have to deal with it right away and get rid of it, because it's head trash, and it'll bring you down a path really fast if you don't get a grip on it. And it happens to all of us. It's just how quickly you deal with it and overcome it is a thing that then gets you back on that road to success and keeps you focused, and using that energy inside of you to get the things that you want, to spread your positivity. And that's the connection, and that's what translates into sales and transactions and that later on, further down the line. And I know you and I talk about this a lot, and it's like I tell people to put serving over selling. Serving over selling. Selling will come, like the sale will come. Serve first, and then the transactions will come, because people are going to feel so fulfilled that, wow, you really helped me. Like, I talked to these 10 other people and all they wanted was my money. Like, but you actually helped me. You gave me service. You gave me information. You gave me knowledge. And I feel really comfortable doing business with you. I made that connection. I like you. I trust you. Here's my money. It's all that. That's the rocket mindset.
Got it. Yeah, yeah. I was actually on a call yesterday, and the facilitator was asking each person to say, "What's your word for the year?" And mine was service. And selling really is service. Good morning and happy New Year to Steve Kent and Don Levine, Brent Barr. Thanks for joining us today. Steve says a shift in thinking is crucial. Good morning, Ellen Lefkowitz, who says authenticity. That's what it's all about. And I'm with her 1,000,000%. And by the way, you had me at Beatles. You didn't have to go anywhere past there.
Steady diet of Beatles, man. Steady diet. Who's your favorite Beatle?
I'm a Paul guy. I love them all, but I've always been a Paul guy. Look, they're all amazingly talented.
Yeah.
There's the old joke about what do you call a guy who hangs out with rock groups? The drummer. But the Beatles would not have been the Beatles without Ringo.
Yep.
I co-authored 2 books which were really ghostwritten. The ghostwriter wrote a book about the Beatles, and one time I was talking to him and said, anybody could have been Ringo. He goes, "Oh no, that's absolutely not true. He was the perfect drummer for them. He wasn't flashy. He wasn't fancy. Nope. Like I love Carl Palmer from ELP, a real power drummer.
Yeah.
But if Ringo was a power drummer like that, the Beatles would not have been the Beatles."
No.
Ellen Lefkowitz says George is George baby. She's a George girl.
That's me. I'm a George fan. I mean, obviously, like you said, they're all amazing, and but when at the end of the day, like when I go, the solo records I listen to are definitely the George ones, and I love all of George's songs and the Beatles, and it's good
classics.
Stuff.
Here Comes the Sun and things like that.
It's amazing.
I want to move on to your stuff, but I have to tell you this. I was recently, I'm on Facebook regularly because I'm an old guy, and I was there was I'm in several Beatles groups, and somebody was saying George Harrison is the greatest guitarist of all time. He would make any band better. And I told my daughter, who's 19 years old and loves the Beatles, I told her about that. I said, as much as I love George, and I do, he is not the greatest guitarist of all time. And now every time we talk about music, our standard joke is, what would have made this song better? George Harrison. I mean, you mentioned great. Clapton. To me, Clapton's one of the, I'm a blues guy, one of the greatest. There's so many. Anyways, let's move on.
We could go on forever. It could easily become a music show.
Maybe next time. So tell me a little bit about personal brand. What is a personal brand, and why should a salesperson develop one?
Right. So, I mean, a personal brand really is, and the difference between a personal brand versus your company brand, I think, is pretty apparent. Like, personal brand is you. It comes from you. And a lot of times what I see people doing, and this is the thing. So when people come to me, they'll say, "Hey, Chris, like, here's the things that I'm struggling with right now. Like, I got a great network. I have awesome relationships, but I'm not getting as many referrals as I want, or I'm feeling a little like my pipeline's not as full as it could be. And I feel like I'm having trouble like really getting through the people. I don't know how to stay top of mind with them. I don't know how to keep all that going." And a lot of times you could look and it's just that they're not like, they're great at what they do as far as their like given skill, talents, or whatever they're doing, but it's that connection that they're missing. And I think for a very long time, it's been taught and beaten to all of us, especially anybody who's dealt in corporate America and all that, is that it's all about the company and the company line, and stay rank and file, and that's how you do it. But it's not like that anymore. It really isn't. And with like it or hate it, with the advent of social media and being able to connect to anybody, and by the way, if you don't even use any social but you use LinkedIn, everything I'm telling you 1,000% applies to LinkedIn. And this is how you get ahead on LinkedIn. This is how you get noticed, is really leveraging. It's a very simple thing actually, but it's very hard for people. It's leveraging your knowledge, your expert knowledge, your interests, the things that you love, the things that make you you, right? It's that DNA. If you are awesome at sales, that's great. What else are you awesome at? Like, I want to know. Are you a writer? Are you an amazing gardener? Do you make your own wine? Are you a chef? Like, all these different things. Are you the world's like greatest jigsaw puzzler? Like, I don't know, whatever that is, but like, see, that stuff is interesting. Those are the things that when you start to implement those parts of you into your outbound communications, your image, the way you are, like your brand, your personal brand, those are the things that make you stand out and make you memorable and make you that much more likable to the people you're looking to connect with. Because sometimes it's like, listen, like, how many insurance brokers do you know? How many realtors do you know? How many bankers? How many, and so on and so forth. I mean, how many coaches do you know? I mean, it's endless, right? And it's always about like it's personalized style, who wants to work with who, because it's someone they like and trust. But it's those things are the hooks, the nuggets that like really get into someone's like mind, that those earworms are the things that keeps them from thumb stopping content online. Those are the things that make people stand out and go, oh, you know what, I like that, that's interesting to me. And therefore you kind of get more on somebody's radar that way. So building your personal brand is a combination of all your strengths, not just what you're good at, what you do for a living, but everything that you do. Like, utilize that. That it's so strong and so powerful. When you begin to tap into that, that's when I keep saying it, that's when you're really rocking it, man. That's when the magic happens. And the biggest barrier that keeps people from doing that is the mindset. We have a very preconceived notion. It's a reality we build around ourselves, that of this thought that this is the way we need to be because this is what we think people think we need to be. And it's head trash. It's not true. Like, you just got to shatter that right away, because it's not true. It's not true. Like, you can be your own person and be there. Don't worry about like what you're supposed to be. Like, be the person you want to be. And that's because you have all the tools you need right away. You just have to use them. And most of us do not use everything that we have at our disposal, which is ourselves. Like, we are our biggest tool, and we don't even use half of it, like most of the time.
I want to explore this further, but first I have to tell you that Don Levine, who's even older than me, if that's possible, said, I saw Cream in 1967 and he really loved Ginger Baker. And he says the best guitarist, Roy Cooter.
Oh, nice.
Don
Love
has
that.
good taste.
With great taste.
Let's see, I was only 12 in 1967, so I wasn't
Well,
going
I
to
wasn't, I
concerts yet.
wasn't, I was not born yet. I was a 1974 baby, but I love Cream.
Oh, who doesn't?
Yeah,
I think I went to my first concert at 16 or 17, and it was, I can't remember who opened for who. It was James Taylor and Carole King.
nice.
And the thing I remember most about it is being with two friends there and going, what's that smell? It's making me have an upset stomach. And they said, that's marijuana. I'm like, what's that? There you go. And I know you're involved with the cannabis industry. We'll talk about that
Mhm.
later. But I want to come back to
Sure.
something you just said because I found that really illuminating. So I'm on LinkedIn regularly, and I do try to represent myself in a certain way. I'm always authentically me, but
Yeah.
I'm doing my very best to be professional. I give a lot, but what I think I heard you say is it would be useful for me to include more of my meanness, like that I
Yeah.
love pugs or that I love the Beatles or stuff like
Yep.
that, which I
Yeah.
typically save for Facebook because I consider that more social and friendly, and LinkedIn more for business. But are you suggesting that I should put more of my humanness into my posts?
Absolutely, 100%. In fact, I was recently involved in a mini con, which we are running again. We're running replays of it all January, called Humanize Your Brand. And it was me and three other experts, Jill Bear Abraham, who's a LinkedIn expert, and Papalizio, who's a Facebook advertising expert, and Ian Anderson Gray, who's a live video expert. And I was on there talking about how to use video to humanize your brand. So quick plug, if you go over to humanizeyourbrand.com, you can sign up for the free event and pick the date that you want to attend it, because we are rerunning it. But we talked all about this, humanizing your brand, like bringing in that human element, because that's the stuff that's really interesting. I use the analogy a lot of, picture a campfire, right? A campfire. Like, we all, I love camping, but think about the things that happen around a campfire, right? We tell stories, we connect with one another. You have to look at social media, LinkedIn, YouTube, all these things that you're doing as being around the campfire, right? tell stories. Like those are the things that are impactful the most. And when you can take those stories and then have them relate to what it is that you're doing, because I know everybody out there can do it. I mean, I'm talking to a bunch of salespeople. So if anybody knows how to tell a good story, it's definitely people in sales and business development. But really think about that. Like that is so powerful. So think about that. Like think about LinkedIn is the campfire that everybody's sitting around and you're telling these stories. So not only are you sharing what you do, but yeah, bring in things about the Beatles and the Pugs, but tie it into what you do. Why do you love it? Like, why does that make you excited? Why is that passionate? And why should people care about it? And those are the types of things. Like I tell everybody, a great creative exercise to do if you're struggling to come up with content to put out is to literally take a pen and pad or a Google Doc or whatever works for you, or dictation into your phone, and just write down as many things that you can topic wise about what it is you do for a living and all the different things you could talk about with that, the things that you're interested in and all the things you could talk about with that. And don't stop writing until you're kind of exhausted. Then walk away, flip on some tunes, and come back and stare at that list and sit and think. And as you begin to sit and think about that, you'll start to see the things that stand out. Oh, I could talk about that. I could talk about this. I could talk about this. And then even under that, you'll start to say, there's this main thing. And then you start to draw like little like subheadings under all that. And before you know it, you're going to have like a year or more's worth of content to work off of, to put out there. That's a mix of professional mixed in with that personal. But once again, that's where the things happen. Those are the authentic things that people want to latch onto, and what makes you more memorable and makes you stand out and be more top of mind with the people that you want to connect with, your audience. Like who's your audience? Who do you want to be doing more business with?
Makes perfect sense. Perfect sense. Because
Yeah,
after just one conversation with you, immediately in my mind, you're the rock and roll guy. Forget about the name of your company, Rocket, but it's
right.
like, oh, he's the rock and roll guy. So I get it. Is there a formula maybe? How much should be the giving content, the
Yeah,
advice about what you do,
sure.
as opposed to the personal stuff, or is it you just kind of play around and figure it out over time?
It's a great idea, and I know there's different people out there you can look and they do have formulas and all that. Honestly, for me, I mean, I this is the rock and roll part of me is, see what works, experiment. Like it's fine, because honestly, like at the end of the day, you put content out there, and after 48 hours tops, it's gone. It's so in the past. Like even reusing content that you put out 4 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, you could totally reuse that content. Maybe switch it up just a little bit, change the title up, or switch the wording around slightly, but you can reuse that content, especially if it's an image, things like that. Those types of things, like, because you never know who you're going to now engage with at this moment in time. Like you engage with people at that moment in time, and now you're engaged with who else is coming around this moment in time. And honestly, who cares if the same person sees it twice? Because maybe when they saw it the first time, it didn't hit them the same way it's hitting them now again, the second time around. So, don't get wrapped up into that. Don't get wrapped up into like, oh my God, nobody liked my post and nobody engaged with it. Don't start playing that numbers game stuff. Just focus on the quality of the content and getting it out there and getting into a rhythm. What I would recommend is establishing a rhythm and a schedule. So, if you're going to be engaging, let's just use LinkedIn as a complete example, because I think everybody here can relate to LinkedIn the most. I would say if you could post every day, that is awesome. And that would mean Saturday and Sunday too. You don't have to, but if people are going to ask me what to do, I mean, listen, I don't post every single day as far as Saturdays and Sundays go, because I try to actually go on digital detox on the weekends, because I just like to like cleanse my palate a little bit. But Monday through Friday, I'm posting in one way or the other, whether I'm sharing a video, I'm doing something in text, I'm sharing a picture. This also includes commenting too. Commenting other people's posts are very powerful. It's a great way to build that awareness, stay top of mind, and create cross posting. So spending that time on LinkedIn is huge. And so I would say at least build in once a day, at the very least once a day, to be posting and contributing on LinkedIn at least 15 to 30 minutes a day. And you will start to see that engagement. It's the consistency. At least do that. If you're going to start posting, then I would say, at least try doing 3 times a week. Let's just start with that. Like challenge yourself, and the thing is, if you create this list, it's not that big of a challenge, because all you're doing is working off the list that you created of content that you want to put out there. And experiment, try, have fun. Like
Riff.
really have fun with it. Like, yeah, riff, man. Like jam it out, like rock and roll. It's okay. Like, but this is the rock and roll mindset. This is what I'm talking about. You don't have to be in the rock and roll. You could be, it's not about a genre of music. It's just about the mindset. I mean, listen to jazz guys, right? I mean, freeform jazz is freeform jazz. Like, think about it like that. Think about it like jazz. Like, just have fun with it, because it should be fun, because all you're trying to do at the end of the day is just make connections with people. It's what we do all day long. It's just we're using these platforms for reach, because this is where people are at. This is where the conversations are happening.
Yeah, man.
So
Freeform jazz blows my mind a little bit. I like music that I can actually follow the beat to. I have a problem with anything that I can't count
I
out.
agree, but it's an improvisational
Yeah,
style
I
where
get
it's
it.
like,
I
hey,
get
you know
it.
what? Don't fit in a format. Try it. Give it a try.
It's interesting you said about even posting the same content. You're probably familiar with Guy Kawasaki,
Hmm.
the huge LinkedIn influencer, and he
Yeah.
recently posted something on LinkedIn that he said, I think he said by mistake, reposted the same thing twice in one day. And I forget the numbers. I'm making this up, but
Right.
he has a staggering amount of followers. And it was
Yeah.
something like the first one had 14,000 people engaged, and the second time in the same day, like 7,000 people engaged.
Yeah.
So you're right. Different people are
Yeah.
tuning in at different times, and people forget.
Yeah.
So absolutely. By the way, Ellen
It's true.
Lefkowitz says, so refreshing to listen to someone so real. Apparently, you're very real, my friend.
All right. Well, it is true. I mean, honestly, what you see is what you get. I swear. And and Jeff and I have talked several times, and Jeff will tell you this is 1,000% me. But this is what I teach people, and this is what I utilize, and it's I just want to stress this too. This is all. It's not all about becoming me. I'm not. That's not what I teach. It's about becoming you. Like you. That's all I'm helping to do, is help you to tap into you. You possess all the tools, you possess everything that you need to do all of this. It's just a matter of wanting to do it and getting over yourself sometimes, because that's usually the number one hurdle that I deal with, is breaking through that. And once we tap through that, the floodgates are usually open.
Yeah, I find when people try to be something other than themselves, that's where the real trouble lies. And I grew up with a group of friends, and we had an expression, "F them if they can't take a joke." And my feeling is, I don't need everybody to love me, and I know I'm not everybody's cup of tea.
No,
I'm a New York fast talking, wisecracking, wannabe stand up comedian guy, and if you don't like that, that's okay.
that's
All I
totally
need is
okay.
enough people to like me, whether it's companies or
Yeah.
individuals who think, yeah, that's the kind of guy I want to play with. And I think if you try to be anything other than that, you come across as disingenuous,
Yeah.
and that turns people off. So I'm with you a million percent.
Yeah.
When it comes to personal branding,
Mhm.
is it like most things? It's really an effort over time, or are there any shortcuts to the process?
There's no shortcuts. There's no shortcuts to anything in life. I mean, if anything, if life has taught me anything, and I'm sure it's taught everybody here who's listening, is there's just no shortcuts to anything. I mean, there's methods, and everybody's got their different method and different systems that you could follow that maybe make it easier. For me, it just comes down to, like, you have to figure out what works for you from a time perspective and from a lifestyle perspective. So make it work for you. It is an individualized thing. So it is some time management involved there. I think that's the biggest thing, but it is over time. It's like anything in marketing, advertising, branding, sales. I mean, sometimes what your sales cycles are. It's not always like, hey, yeah, great, we talked one time and boom, I'm going to do business with you. Like, a lot of, I'm sure, what we're all doing is not that transactional. Like, it does take multiple meetings and certain proposals, and you go back through the proposals, but think about all the relationship building that started before you even got to proposal stage. Relationship building doesn't happen in 24 hours. Like, relationships take time to cultivate. And this, once again, that campfire scenario, this is a relationship you're building with your audience over time. And by the way, your audience also consists of everybody you're already connected to, the relationships you've spent years cultivating. Like, I know we, as sales and business development, like, we're always we want that, it's the thrill of the new sale, the new opportunity, but never, ever, ever forget the people who helped get you there, and the people that retain you, the people that still do business with you, the people that refer you constantly. Like, they are your audience. So think about the content you're making, and you're directing it towards them, really, first and foremost. Like, those are the people you really want to stay top of mind with and stay connected with. And any new audience that you're going after is a bonus of doing this. I mean, this is all super organic. Of course, there's paid things you can do and campaigns you can get into, which will drive traffic to certain things that you create. Of course. And that stuff's great. So I'm not saying that that's a shortcut. I think that's something you could build to. And that's where, working with like, other experts who are really knowledgeable in that can help to really monetize that type of content. But at the start, like, don't worry about monetizing, worry about like cultivating those relationships and creating that deeper connection with the people you're already connected with. Like, start with that, and then it will fan out from there. It's like, total ripple effect.
Yeah. So it's kind of like making deposits in the bank and it grows over time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. By the way, did I hear you say you were on a panel with somebody called Ian Anderson Gray?
That is. Yes, that's true.
I wonder what group his parents liked.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
You said it. I'm like, I know who that is.
Yeah. And he's a Brit too. So,
but is he thick?
Yes.
So what you're saying is consistency is key, and you really have to. It's the long haul. It's that regular conversation. It's the same thing in sales.
It is. It's all.
It's one of the things that I find salespeople often don't do, and you kind of touched on it. Is we love the thrill of that new prospect, and we certainly do always have to be filling the pipeline with new prospects. But
of course,
we sometimes people are ignoring their current relationships, their current customers, as well as their current network. And most studies that I've read say, and the numbers vary a little bit, but that it's 6 to 8 times less expensive to sell to an existing customer than it is to develop a new one, and 6 to 8 times quicker to sell to an existing customer than it is to develop a new one. And we often ignore what we think is in the bag. I'll relate this to networking. I'm a member of a networking group for a long time. There's a guy in the group. He's an employment attorney. Now, I happen to know what he bills out at, $525 an hour, and that ain't cheap. Right. I know his time is valuable. He's very good at what he does. Amazing networker, by the way. But every now and then, my phone will ring. I'd say once every 5, 6, maybe 8 weeks, and I'll see his name. And the first thing I when I see his name is like, oh my God, is somebody suing me? Not that I get sued, but that's the brain goes to the negative. And it's never that, because I don't get sued. It's always, how are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm great. How are you? And he goes, fine. I go, what can I do for you? He goes, nothing. I just called to see how you're doing. Is there anything I can do for you? And, sometimes it's just a 2-minute conversation, but I can tell you this. Every time I hang up, I go, God damn, I know he bills out at $5.25 an hour, and he just invested 3 or 5 minutes with me just to see how I'm doing. Makes me want to do great things for him, because the law of reciprocity kicks in. I believe in the law of reciprocity says if you do something nice for somebody else, they're going to tend to want to do something nice for you too.
Rules of karma. Karma. You get what you put out. You put out positive energy and do as much good as you can, and it will come back to you threefold. Negatively, comes back to you threefold. That's the rules of karma. It really is. So, and who knows when it comes back, and there's no timeline, but when it does, boy, is it great.
My friend and fellow member, Randy Friedlander, Bussy Mary, who she's got a lot of names, says, pay attention to your current customers and they'll help you get new ones. She is the queen of she's a true world-class customer service expert. And I believe her saying is always, if you don't pay attention to your customers, your competition will. So I'm with her.
1,000%, and just going back on that serving, not selling, what we were talking about before too, is I like to tell people, and it's so easy to forget it, is give out as much free information as possible. Give it all away for free. Honestly, give it away for free, because the more you put out there for free, the more people are going to want to really work with you. And not only that, but you're setting yourself up as the expert and the authority in what it is that you do. And most people won't do this. They just won't. But also on top of that, the people that are following you, the people you're engaging with, are going to so appreciate you so much more, because you're the hub of the information. There's a great quote I leave in front of me all the time, and I'll read it super quick, because it's from Tony Hsieh and Zappos, and Delivering Happiness is one of the greatest books ever written that has made a profound effect in my life. And there's a great quote in that, which is, envision, create, and believe in your own universe, and a universe will form around you. And that, honestly, that's my mission. That's my mission in life, is to do that and teach others how to do that. Because when you're doing that, that's when awesome things are happening. It really is. And it's such a simple philosophy to follow. It really is. And that's it. That's the secret. I mean, honestly, it's the secret to all of this. It really is.
I think one of his geniuses was he didn't build a shoe company. He said,
No.
I built a customer service company that happens to sell shoes, which is
Right.
brilliant. And I'm with you. I call that sharing your brilliance generously. Just give it a
Hmm.
look. I don't bill out quite as much as the gentleman I was telling you about, but it's pretty damn close. My time
Right.
is valuable too. I don't get
Yeah.
paid for doing this every week. I don't get paid for any of the stuff that I do for the Sales Pro Network or any of the other content I create and share. But I do
Yeah.
believe it's all about serving others. And I
It is.
believe that when you do good things for other people, good stuff does come back to you. Absolutely. By the way, Don Levine says, who also apparently knows who we're talking about, said, I saw Jethro Tull at Nassau Community College in 1970. And Ellen Lefkowitz said she saw Tull last summer of 2019. Wow. Summer of 2019. Okay, yeah. I don't remember going to a heck of a lot of concerts in 2020, although
Yeah.
I had a bunch of
2019
them.
was the last time I went to a concert. So
Yeah,
I'm
I
missing
didn't
it.
want to
I'm
get
missing
started.
it.
I probably had 7 or 8 sets of tickets that got pushed off or canceled.
Same,
It's killing
same
me.
here. Same
Yeah,
here.
fingers crossed that a lot of people get this vaccine. We reach that herd immunity and things can open up again. Look, I'm not a business expert. I'm a sales and a sales management expert, but I'm hoping. I think mid-year is actually too aggressive right now, but by the end of 2021, hopefully things get back to normal. We can go back to seeing live music. I mean, for me, almost every Friday and Saturday night, I was in a local club watching usually some
Yep.
Beatles cover band playing great
Same here.
music or somebody like that.
Same
Uh,
here. Same here.
I do believe content is king. And you may have just covered maybe the campfire analogy
Sure.
is it, but
Yeah.
are there other content creation tips that you have? And also, how can we
Sure.
get the most out of our content?
Right. Okay. So yeah, several questions there. So content creation tips. So I would say I what I always like to tell people is keep it simple. Keep it simple. I mean, work off of what you already know. Don't go crazy. Don't overthink it. Like I said, don't over obsess over likes and shares and engagements. Like that will come over time because you just have to start doing it for people to see it, to start recognizing it. So don't over obsess over that. And also what I had said before is don't overthink resharing content that you put out there a month ago or 2 months ago or whatever. Like, reshare all that stuff, reuse and repurpose. Blogs are a big thing. If you are a blog writer, which is great for your SEO, those blogs could easily be turned into social posts, could be turned into images, can be turned into audio and video, like easily. Same thing goes for video and audio. If you've done a podcast, if you've done a video, you can turn that into written word very easily using a service like a rev.com, an online transcription service. I write blogs using my phone, which is I do my voice recordings. I voice record my blogs and then I have them transcribed and then I take them and edit them from there. Because once I get a transcript, because I'm just not, me sitting down and writing a whole blog, it just doesn't work. And I just developed this system now of like, I actually rev.com has an app, and not that I'm like making money from rev.com. I just find it easy. It's what I used in my video days. But they have an app now where it's a voice record, and I literally voice record my blog, get it transcribed, download it, put it into Google Docs, make my edit, and then I send it to my copywriter, and she makes me sound like an intelligent person. So, but that it's a quick way of doing it and creating content. But then I use that for scripts and things to create videos with, or audio, or even a quick presentation. Because oftentimes that happens. Hey, Chris, can you come on real quick and do a 10-minute presentation? Yeah, sure. So I'll just take a blog that I did and I'll turn it into a presentation. So there's all these different ways to reuse and repurpose stuff that you've already spent time creating. Like don't throw that stuff aside. Like remember that you have it and reuse and repurpose it. So that's a quick tip. And like I said, keep it easy, keep it simple for yourself. Don't
Yeah.
overcomplicate it.
Hey,
And
you're the expert. So you tell me, but
Mhm.
I find that quite often people think that everything has to be a book, and I actually find that the shorter I go, the more people engage. Like,
Yeah.
look, I'm a guy who loves the sound of his own voice, and I have a lot of content. I could easily just riff for an hour on anything about sales. Like, I'm going to do this clubhouse thing today at 1 o'clock for an hour, actually with a one of my friendly
Okay.
competitors. All I'm going to talk about is prospecting. I've got nothing planned.
Yeah.
Believe me, I can riff on that easily. But when I love doing video, and I found that the longer my videos were, the less engagement. I know that I
Yeah.
have a friend, a dear friend who I adore, and she's constantly sending me all kinds of videos, politics, personal development, all kinds of stuff. And every time I click on it, open up, it's an hour. It's like, nope, not watching
Yeah.
it. Sorry, I'm not even watching the first minute. I mean,
Yeah.
even a TED talk, 18 minutes, that's about the max I'll go. But when I create videos, I try to keep them under 6 minutes. And really, one of the things I
Mhm.
started doing towards the end of the year was 3 tips in 3 minutes,
Yeah.
which I mean, that I can sink my teeth into because
Hmm.
everybody's busy. So it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be a book every time, right?
No, no, it does not have to be a book every time. I think there's certain, so real quick, there's certain places where content works really well. If you're doing something a lot longer form, YouTube is definitely the place to put it. And don't think of you need to, however you think of YouTube now, like you just need to think about this as YouTube is a video search content. It's a search engine. It's a video search engine. It's TV. It's new TV. So long form content works so much better on YouTube than it does anywhere else. So just if you have a longer video, think about just putting the longer piece there. Then if you're using things like LinkedIn, well, like I said, we'll just stick to LinkedIn.
Sure.
Think about trimming it down. Think about trimming it down to, under 10 minutes for sure. I mean, if you're embedding video onto LinkedIn, like embed video onto LinkedIn directly is going to get you so much more engagement than sharing from YouTube to LinkedIn, because it's going to favor its native player over, YouTube. But if you're going to do that, yeah, definitely go for something a little bit shorter. Keep it tight, keep it simple, keep it bite sizable. And especially if it's linking to, I mean, you can easily put in a post, hey, to watch the longer version of this video, click here. And people will do that because I want to hear more about this, because people will put on YouTube and listen to it like podcasts. I do it all the time. I'll throw YouTube on and I hear a conversation going, a 1 hour video or a TED talk, like you said, but I'm almost listening to it more as a podcast, but I'm still getting the content.
Yep.
So, that's definitely something I would recommend doing for sure. I'm a fan of the shorter content. Like I think of things like, I listen to podcasts a lot, and I think of like the bite-sized stuff on like, I'll listen to like the different news things like NPR or something. And like, but NPR does a great job of doing a 4 minute, and they update it every hour, but whatever. But I like that quick 4 minute, 5 minute bite sizable like bit of like content I get. I think it's really cool. And if you were able to deliver things like that, that is awesome.
Yep.
I also want to say really quick too about the content creation side. Another tip too is, and I just had a whole conversation about this morning on Clubhouse, is focus on quality of content. Don't focus so much on the delivery method of like, oh, I got to have a great webcam and an awesome setup and this awesome mic and things like that. That stuff will come. I'm not saying not to be mindful of it. Like don't stand in front of a bright window and try to record your video, because you're going to be a silhouette. You're going to look like one of these guys that's like, trying to hide their identity when when they're on being interviewed. But like focus on quality of content. Like focus on that. The tech side and production value will come with time. It really will. So just get used to doing the content. Get into the rhythm and the flow of it
Uh,
before you start obsessing over production details.
okay. Good morning and happy New Year to Ronnie Schnell. Thanks for joining us. Keith Ginsburg says he got it. Steve Kent says he believes short posts and videos are better because people have short attention spans. And I'm pretty sure that LinkedIn will own 10 minutes is the limit. And I
10
think you
minutes
got
is
a
the limit.
compliment here. Greg Kettner, who is a fantastic, first of all, he's a stand-up comedian, but he's really a humor coach now. He works with both individuals and companies and teaches them how to have more fun at work and be funny
Nice.
in selling. He said, you always have great content and great guests. I think you just got a compliment.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for saying that.
Um, so you help people grow their network. How do you do that?
So I help them grow their network. So I'll work with people in different buckets, right? So especially too I would say in the creative industry, right? It's where I spent so much time. I've seen that um, a lot of people in the creative and marketing side of things don't necessarily have the best relationship networking. Let's just call it networking skills in that sense, or relationship development, because a lot of them tend to be very gig worker centric, right? And I get it. I mean, it's a nature of the industry. But when the pipeline is low and they don't have those projects, because they're literally going project until there's no projects, and then they're like, oh my God, I gotta get more work. I need to eat. They're not focused on developing or creating. Like they have this sort of all their eggs in these baskets of like these 10 people I give them work, but they're never really creating more network or building their reach, their relationships, their influencer network. And that's where you see that sharp drop because nothing's ever coming on. They don't have anybody else. So they're not engaging anybody. So I work a lot with people in that industry to help teach them like the things that I learned how to do to be constantly working on developing relationships, constantly meeting people, constantly engaging your network. So you don't have that sharp decline and like, oh my God, these 10 people went away. Now I have no work. Like this is the part of relationship development. So on that side of things, when it comes to the content, the personal branding side of things, I help people basically leverage that content to develop their network, to expand their network, to keep everybody ignited and engaged with them. And I do that through teaching them how to do like simple things of like, when you put up a post, tag a bunch of people in your network to interact on that post. Get on that email newsletter and share this content with them. Using things like podcasts and stuff like that to grow your network, video interviews like this, what we're doing now, Jeff. This is a wonderful way to grow your network and to engage people that you've never even met before, to get them on, to give them a vehicle and say, hey, I want to expose you to my network. I want to help you. Would you like to come on my show? And now before you know it, you've now met somebody who's now a potential client for you. So all these types of things are helping to grow your network. Also, how you have a Facebook group, like that is something that's key. Look at the network that you've grown inside this Facebook group. A lot of people do not take that step to do that. And that's growing and taking control of things, saying, hey, you know what? I can't find a network like this. So I'm going to actually create my own network. I'm going to create my own mastermind group. I'm going to create this community. So using those kinds of tools, that's what I teach people how to do a bit, to say, this is how you grow a network. This is how you develop people. And then on top of that, this is now how you can leverage that to create business opportunities for yourself.
I think you just got another compliment. Lisa Danielle Leviton said, love the perspective today. And that whole thing about network. Well, first of all, I went on Facebook and I searched for sales groups, and I only found two others. Maybe I just didn't search right, but both of them turned me off immediately. They were both, I don't know how to even describe it.
Almost like sales funnels for themselves.
It was filled with a bunch of people bragging about what kind of car they drive and how much money they made, and
a lot of chest beaters,
stuff like that. Look, I make a nice living. I drive a nice car. I know how to sell, but it's not about me beating my chest. It turned me off immediately. To me, sales really is about service. It is about forming relationships. And I think when we're talking about growing your network, you're talking kind of about the expanded worldwide network that social media can give you. I was even thinking in networking, like people go to networking groups, and I find there are two big mistakes that people make. One of them is when you join a networking group, and I get invited to a lot of them because I'm a good guest. I'll always give some advice about sales. So I find that one mistake is anybody who ends their brief commercial, you always get up and say, here's who I am, here's what I do. Anybody who ends it with, and I'd love to do business with all of you, is making a huge mistake. Obviously, everybody wants to do business with everybody, but that's not the purpose of being there. The purpose of a networking group is to make sure that you get them to like you and trust you enough, like you said before, so that they think of you when they run into an opportunity that they can refer you. Most people think that everybody knows about 200 people. Salespeople typically know way more. But I'm looking to form relationships where people in the networking group I belong to, whenever somebody they're talking to says, I wish I could increase sales, you got to meet my friend Jeff. He's an amazing sales coach or an amazing sales trainer. He should be able to help you. And the other mistake that people make is exactly what you were talking about. People join a networking group. They go once a week, twice a month, or once a month, and they'll be at a networking group for a couple hours. You get up and you give your brief commercial, and that's it. And that's not it. It's all about, in the group I belong to, it's called opportunity calls. In some groups, they're called one-on-ones. It's I meet you at a networking group, and I actually met you through an introduction from somebody we both know and admire. But in a networking group, it's like, hey, Chris, nice to meet you. Why don't you and I get together on our own so we can get to know each other? And that's where I get to know you. And I know that you love rock and roll, and I love pugs and rock and roll too. And that's where we begin to actually like and trust each other, because just hearing you give your brief commercial every 2 weeks, I'm not recommending you anywhere, because who am I going to recommend you to?
We don't have a relationship.
My clients and my prospects. And after my kids and my dog and my integrity, that's the most important thing in the world to me. I'm not introducing anybody to my clients or prospects for sure that I'm not 100% positive that they're going to make me look good. So it really is about developing that relationship, whether it's online or in person. Yep.
Yeah, 1,000%. And I could give you a quick tip too on also, and you I'm sure you've done this, and probably people in your audience have done this too. But one of the things that I've done that was always effective, and you can only really do you can, and I can't stress this, you can only do this with people that you trust, like 1,000% trust. And doing business with them is like doing business with yourself. Like it's just they feel like an extension of you. So what I was doing when we were doing a lot of in-person stuff is I would do what I would just like to call, I mean, lunch and leads, right? So it'd be me and two other really solid professionals that we all had a great relationship with, 10 plus years doing business with each other. And we would literally get together for 2 hours, go to like pub, whatever. We would get lunch. We both have our phones open, our laptops open, and we would literally run through. We would do this once a quarter. Hey, so let's really think about who can I introduce. Here's who I'm working with new this quarter. I'd have my CRM open, all this stuff, and we would go, is this a good fit? Is this a good fit? And the three of us, and we would walk out of there, and we would all commit to, if we didn't do the intro there, we all committed, we all did it, put the time on our calendars to say, this is the chunk of time we're now going to follow up, make these introductions for each other, and then go on from there. And I'll tell you, every single time we did that, all of us walked out of there with new business. I mean, it was, and it may take, hey, here's 20 introductions, but one of them would become a new client. Awesome, well worth the time. And it is a great way to utilize the power of your network, your relationship. So
Brilliant.
it's a simple thing. And yes, you can do it virtually too. You don't, I know we all, and if you're feeling bold and you want to get together and do it in a space, like great, but at the same time, you can do this virtually as well. So
Yeah, that's
so
great.
it's a very powerful tool.
Yeah, you see me smiling. That's a smile of recognition. And I didn't think of this. There's a guy who used to be in the group that I belong to. He's since retired, but he actually invited me to his house one time. He said, "Bring your laptop with you,"
Mm-hmm.
and I have an idea. And the two of us would sit. He was kind of a heavy set guy,
Right.
and loved to eat. He always put out a great spread, and we would just do exactly what you said. We'd open up our CRMs and go through an alphabetical order. Would this guy be good for you? Would this introduction be good for you? And we'd both walk away with 5, 10, 15 introductions every time, because it takes that real effort to do it. And you do only do it with people that you absolutely trust.
Yeah, you have. Yeah, I mean, that's the key. You have to do it with people you trust. It has to, because once again, it's reputation, it's a reflection on you, and you can't open up. I mean, because we would recommend some serious relationships, like stuff that took me years to cultivate. And I was like, if I'm gonna make this introduction, like I gotta know you're for real, and like you're not. This isn't gonna blow back on me. And that's why you can only do it with the real trusted people. And that's why it's 2, 3 tops. Like that's it. Don't do this in a large group. This isn't good in a large group setting. This is a very intimate thing that you do with your most trusted relationships.
Yep. And even with them, I have a technique that I use and I teach people. Whenever somebody's generous enough to be willing to make an introduction, the first words out of my mouth are always "thank you." That I really appreciate it, because that is a relationship of trust. When somebody trusts you
Right.
enough to introduce you to their client or their prospect, that's huge. But what I always do is I say, "Would it help if I write the introduction for you? I'll email it to you. You can edit it any way you like, but
Yeah.
maybe that'll save you some time." And of course, everybody says yes. And the real reason
Yeah.
I do that is not just to save them the time. It's because I know it's going to get done quicker than if I wait for them to do it. Even in a close relationship,
Yep.
everybody does what they want to do. And more importantly, I think, is I want the people that they're introducing me to hear the words that I want them to hear, not necessarily the words that they want them to hear. And I think
Exactly.
I've shared this once or twice in the Sales Pro Network, and I'm going to say it again because I think it's crucial. I had I'm in this group 16 years. The group's been in existence 33 years.
Right.
And one time, a guy who's been I know him a long time, great guy, very good at what he does. I'm happy to refer him to the world. And he made an introduction without even telling me he was going to, copied me on it by email. And he said, I'd like to introduce you to Jeff Goldberg. He's a very competent sales trainer, blah, 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 blah. You should take a meeting with him, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And of course, I mean, lovely to be introduced without even asking. And the next time I saw him, though, I said, I'm not going to use his name in case people know him, John. I said, "Hey,
Right.
John, I'm curious about something. Why did you introduce me to your client as a competent sales trainer?" And he said, "Well, you're competent. You're very competent." I said, "Dude, I'm so far beyond competent. It's insane. I can't even see competent in the rearview mirror. I'm amazing. I'm astounding. I cause incredible results. I mean, why didn't you say something like that?" And he said, "I don't like to oversell." which I get. Except, you know what? I want a better introduction than competent because I know if I'm looking for a personal branding expert, I'm not looking for a competent one. I'm looking for
Right.
somebody who rocks it.
Right, exactly. I mean, competent, it's a nice word, but it also sounds like, hey, you know what? He's at least competent.
Exactly. It's not enough. As always happens with these great conversations, we're quickly running out of time. I am
Of
curious
course.
about something. One of your areas of specialization is the cannabis industry. Why the cannabis industry? I know it's
So,
exploding.
for me, it's more of a personal. It's something I always wanted to, like, as far as an industry I wanted to be involved in and help, other than being an active user for recreational and medicinal purposes. I mean, my wife and I share very strong feelings on it, and we're both very responsible with what we do, and there's a huge stigma and a lot of misinformation out there. I mean, it's 80 plus years of prohibition of this plant, and I strongly feel that this is something that, and it's the tide is finally turning, and it's something I just feel like is very important to not only the overall general health and mental well-being of everybody, but it's also really important that it's an industry that is supported. It is a legitimate business. It's not how it all used to be, way back. And it's not all plastic bags and paper baggies and things like that. Like, these are legitimate business owners who are doing things the best that they can with the extreme regulations that they're forced to survive under. Not being able to do regular banking, not being able to advertise properly. And believe me, when we talk about rock and roll mindset and being punk rock and doing that, talk about people who businesses who have found all ways in and around the system to really continue to do business is absolutely fascinating. And it's not illegal stuff. It's they're using the system to their advantage.
I get it.
So it's time to, and it seems like we're definitely, especially here in New Jersey, the state, and many of the other states, and I know New York now, Cuomo came out and said he's now going to push it. So in this is good. This is all positive movements. A lot of work left to be done. Obviously, on a Fed level, it's gotta start there as well. So it's about changing hearts, changing minds, but also helping these business owners to make the connections with people outside of the cannabis and CBD industry, because there's a lot to be learned there. There's a lot, and for me, not only am I personally invested in it, but I also, I can see where I can help and help a lot of these business owners to bridge that gap. So when we talk about networking, relationship development, creating content, these things, like being able to just market to the cannabis and CBD industry is one thing, but taking that outside of that and now marketing to people who are unsure or uncertain or have been fed so much disinformation over years, is a completely different thing. So I like to try to help as best I can to teach those business owners how to talk to people outside of the cannabis industry. And,
Great.
and so that's what I try to do. And that's why I'm invested in it.
Yeah, I just made a quick note because there's somebody in my group who's also associated with the cannabis industry from the venture capital side. I'm going to connect the two of you. That might be good. And Randy Bussey, before we end, said if you do get a referral or introduction, make sure you act on it as soon as possible. I'm with you 1,000,000%, Randy.
Follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up. It's where most sales and business development people
Immediately,
fail.
immediately, yeah. Because if I'm going to introduce you to somebody, I say, hey, you're going to hear from my friend Chris Vaglio, and you don't call, or you don't email, you don't get in touch. I look bad, so I'm with you a
Yeah,
million percent. Stunningly, we've gone an hour, which seems like 10 minutes. By the way, I
can't
want to
believe
say
it.
just one more thing. I went to Nevada, where my sister and mom live. It was 3 years ago on Thanksgiving. And my sister said, what do you want to do? I said, well, pot's legal here, right? I've never been to a dispensary. Could we go? And I was astounded. I think at the time it was the largest dispensary in the country on an Indian reservation.
Mhm.
And it was a retail store. I mean, with a showroom. And
It's like going to the Apple store.
it
It's
really was. And it was, no kidding, that nice. And somebody came out, I'll be your
yeah,
pot tender today. And it was
yeah,
very, very cool.
yeah.
So,
It
Chris,
is.
we've got to end. I hate to do this,
Yep,
but
it's okay.
if somebody wants to reach out to you because they want to ask some questions, or maybe I know you have a coaching program. I'm sharing.
Mhm.
Actually, I'm not sharing my screen. I will share my screen in a second. Here we go. How does somebody get in touch with you if they want to talk to you?
So, biggest and best way is to, I mean, I am extremely accessible on all social media. You can hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm on there all the time. Or if you're on Facebook, Instagram, all that, you can also reach out to me directly on my website at rocketgrowthagency.com. My email is chris@rocketgrowthagency.com. So I'm just extremely accessible and very easy to get a hold of. Yeah, as Jeff mentioned, I do run a not only just independent one-on-one coaching and consulting services, but I do have a 6-week build your own brand accelerator course, which is also available. So yeah, lots of ways to get a hold of me. I very, very, very accessible person.
Got it. Do you want to give out a phone number?
Um, yeah, I mean, you can always call me right on my cell. I mean, it's my personal cell. It's fine. People rip me on it all the time. So it's 973-714-5033. That's 973-714-5033. You can call me, you can text me, you can hit me up on WhatsApp, all that stuff. Like I said, I'm all over everywhere. I make myself very accessible. And if you ever want to try out some free coaching, I do offer a free 60-minute coaching session. If you want to give it a try, you can sign up right for that on my website. I have a Calendly link, hit it, and we'll get rocking and rolling.
Well, that's very generous. Hey, thank you so much for generously sharing your brilliance and sharing your time today. I learned some stuff, and I'm going to make that introduction for you.
Thank you.
I really appreciate your knowledge and your expertise. And I'm going to have to thank the gentleman once again who's made so many introductions for me, Joe Applebaum.
Joe's the best. Joe's the best.
No doubt
he's
about
a
it.
mentor to me.
Yeah.
Love
Thank you
him.
so
He's
much,
great.
Chris.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for watching.
Yep. Thank you, everybody. Let's make 2021 an incredible year. We had a lot of challenges in 2020. There's certainly been some wackiness already in 2021, but what we have to do in sales is put that all to the side, because each and every day we've got to go out there and help as many people and companies as we can. And I'll end as I always do. Please remember that sales is a game of making things happen. Get out there and make sales happen. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, everyone.